A federal bankruptcy judge on Thursday stopped an effort by the parents of a boy killed in the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting to begin collecting on some of the $50 million they won in a lawsuit against conspiracy theorist Alex Jones over his false claims that the massacre was a hoax. Lawyers for Scarlett Lewis and Neil Heslin, whose 6-year-old son Jesse Lewis died in the 2012 Connecticut shooting, had obtained an order from a state judge in Texas earlier this month, allowing them to begin collecting some assets from Jones's company, Infowars parent Free Speech Systems. But U.S. Bankruptcy Judge Christopher Lopez in Houston said Thursday that the state judge's ruling conflicts with federal bankruptcy law. Lopez said a new trustee appointed to oversee the liquidation of Jones's personal assets now has control of Jones's ownership in Free Speech Systems. Lopez said the trustee, Christopher Murray, has authority under federal law to sell off the company's assets and distribute the proceeds equally among all of Jones's creditors, including other relatives of Sandy Hook victims who were awarded more than $1.4 billion in a similar lawsuit in Connecticut over Jones's lies about the shooting. Murray plans to shut down Infowars, the multi-million-dollar moneymaker Jones has built over the past 25 years by selling dietary supplements, survival gear, and other merchandise. Jones has about $9 million in personal assets, according to the most recent financial filings in court. Free Speech Systems has about $6 million in cash on hand and about $1.2 million worth of inventory, according to recent court testimony. Jones said on his show Thursday that although Infowars may no longer exist in 2 to 3 months, he will restart his broadcasts on another platform he'll have to build from scratch. He also said Lewis and Heslin's efforts in Texas state court to get some of his assets were illegal. Murray had filed a motion Sunday asking Lopez to halt Lewis and Heslin's collection efforts in state court, saying they would interfere with the shutdown and liquidation of Jones's company. Free Speech Systems, based in Jones's hometown of Austin, Texas, filed for bankruptcy reorganization in July 2022 in the middle of the trial in Texas that led to the $50 million defamation award to Lewis and Heslin. Jones filed for personal bankruptcy reorganization later in 2022, after relatives of 8 children and adults killed in the shooting won the Connecticut lawsuit. On June 14th, Lopez converted Jones's personal bankruptcy reorganization case into a liquidation, meaning many of his assets will be sold off to pay creditors, except for his main home and other property exempt from liquidation. The same day, Lopez also dismissed Free Speech Systems' bankruptcy case after Jones and the families could not reach agreement on a final plan. The bankruptcies automatically froze efforts by the Sandy Hook families to collect on the state lawsuit awards. Lawyers for Lewis and Heslin said the dismissal of Free Speech Systems' case meant they could go back to the Texas state court in Austin and ask a judge to order the company to begin turning over money and other assets to Lewis and Heslin. "Our clients are frustrated that they will not be allowed to pursue their state court rights after all," said Mark Bankston, a lawyer for Lewis and Heslin. "Apparently this case will remain in limbo, much to Mr. Jones's delight, while the other group of plaintiffs insist they are entitled to nearly all the recovery." Lewis and Heslin have been at odds with the relatives in the Connecticut lawsuit over how Jones's bankruptcies should end and how his assets should be sold off. Relatives in the Connecticut suit had fought the dismissal of Free Speech Systems' bankruptcy, saying it would lead to a race between Sandy Hook families to the state courts in Texas and Connecticut to see who could get Jones's assets first. The Connecticut plaintiffs favored the trustees' motion to stop the collection efforts in Texas. The Connecticut families have always sought a fair and equitable distribution of Free Speech Systems' assets for all of the families, and today's decision sets us back on that path, said Christopher Lopez, a lawyer for the Sandy Hook relatives who sued Jones in Connecticut. The shooting in Newtown, Connecticut killed 20 first graders and 6 educators. Not all of the victims' families sued Jones. The relatives said they were traumatized by Jones's hoax conspiracies and his followers' actions. They testified about being harassed and threatened by Jones's believers, some of whom confronted the grieving families in person, saying the shooting never happened and their children never existed. One parent said someone threatened to dig up his dead son's grave. Jones is appealing the judgments in the state courts. He has said he now believes the shooting did happen, but free speech rights allowed him to say it did not.